Welcome to BL Hub. If you're a lover of boys' love stories or you do kick your legs while watching two men kissing, then you are at the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share before we dive into this story. Thank you.
I ran with the Triplet Alpha's pup, my arms wrapped tight around the tiny bundle that was my entire world. Rain hammered the windshield as I sped through the dark highway, one hand on the wheel, the other cradling the car seat in the passenger side. My heart pounded harder than the storm outside. Behind us, somewhere in the rearview mirror of my life, were the three men who had once owned every piece of me: Kieran, Kai, and Knox. The Silver Fong triplets. Alphas of the most powerful pack on the West Coast. And the fathers of the pups sleeping beside me. I never planned to run. Not at first. 2 years ago, when I, Omega, unmated, barely 20, discovered I was carrying their child after that one reckless heat I spent with them, I thought they'd claim us. They'd looked at me like I was theirs that night, all three of them surrounding me, whispering promises against my skin while the mate bond fever burned us alive. But when I told them, their faces changed. Knox went cold first. "You're sure it's ours?" he'd asked, voice like gravel. Kai had turned away, jaw tight. Kieran, the one I thought loved me most, just stared at the pregnancy test in my shaking hand and said, "We can't keep it. The pack won't accept an Omega-born heir without a formal claim, and we're not ready to choose one mate." Not ready to choose. As if I was an option on a menu. So I left before they could make the decision for me. Took the money I'd saved from working at the pack clinic, packed one bag, and vanished into the human world. 9 months later, in a quiet hospital 3 states away, I gave birth to Leo, my perfect, dark-haired boy with eyes that shifted between storm gray and forest green depending on the light. Just like his father's. For 22 months, we'd been safe. I worked night shifts as a nurse, rented a tiny apartment above a bakery, and told myself we didn't need anyone else. Until tonight. Leo started burning up 2 days ago. At first I thought it was a normal fever, teething maybe. But this morning he wouldn't wake properly, and his little body felt like fire under my hands. By evening he was having seizures. I rushed him to the nearest emergency room, terrified, praying to every god I didn't believe in that he'd be okay. They admitted him immediately. Dehydration, infection, something aggressive. The doctors pumped fluids and antibiotics into his tiny veins while I sat beside his crib, holding his hot little hand, whispering apologies for dragging him into this life. I didn't notice the shift in the air at first. That electric prickle that always meant alphas were near. Not until the door to the private room swung open and 3 towering figures filled the frame. Kieran stepped in first, rain dripping from his black hair, eyes locked on the crib. Kai followed, shoulders rigid, scanning the room like he expected danger. Knox came last, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tight I heard it crack. The bond that had never fully snapped into place roared back to life inside my chest, painful and raw. Kieran's voice was low, almost broken. "River." I stood slowly, placing myself between them and Leo's bed. My legs shook, but I lifted my chin. "You shouldn't be here." Kai's gaze dropped to the crib, and his face crumpled in a way I'd never seen. "That's ours?" "He's mine," I snapped, voice cracking. "You made that very clear 2 years ago." Knox moved forward, slow, like I was a spooked animal. "We looked for you. Every day. For months." "You stopped," I said. I knew because the private investigator I'd hired to make sure they weren't close told me so. Kieran flinched. "We thought you terminated." He couldn't finish it. I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You thought I'd kill our child because you didn't want him? That's what you think of me." "No," Kai said quickly. "We didn't know what to think. You just disappeared." Leo whimpered in his sleep, and all 3 of them froze, heads turning toward the sound. The heart monitor beeped steadily, but his little chest rose and fell too fast. Kieran took another step. "River, please. Let us." "No," I backed up until my spine hit the wall. "You don't get to walk in here after 2 years and act like you care." "We do care," Knox growled. "He's our blood." "Your blood," I repeated. "Not your son. You didn't want him." Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Outside, Thunder rolled. Then Kieran spoke again, softer. We were wrong. I blinked. In all the scenarios I'd imagined if they ever found us, none included those words. Kai moved closer to the crib, careful not to touch. He's beautiful, he whispered. Looks like all of us. He has your nose, Knox added gruffly, eyes suspiciously bright. I wanted to scream at them to leave. I wanted to collapse into their arms and let them fix everything like they used to. The bond pulled at me, aching, begging. But I stayed strong. You can't have him. We're not leaving, Kieran said. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The doctor knocked then, breaking the tension. Mr. Ellis? We have the latest blood work. I moved past them, careful not to brush against any of them, and followed her into the hall. My hands were shaking so badly I had to clasp them together. He's responding to the antibiotics, she said quietly. But his white count is still high. We'll keep him at least another 48 hours. Thank you. She hesitated. Those men in there, they said they're family. I swallowed hard. They're complicated. She nodded, no judgment. Well, they've been very insistent about paying for everything. Private room, best specialists. I approved it. Of course they did. Money was never their problem. When I went back in, they hadn't moved. All three stood around Leo's crib like guardians, watching him breathe. Knox looked up first. We'll stay. You can't, I said. This is a human hospital. You'll scare the staff. We'll behave, Kai said, a ghost of his old smile flickering. We need to be here. I wanted to fight. I wanted to tell them to get out and never come back. But Leo chose that moment to open his eyes, gray-green and unfocused, and let out a small cry. Instantly, all three alphas leaned closer, instinctive, soothing rumbles starting in their chests. The sound every pup needed to hear from their fathers. And Leo quieted. His tiny hand reached out, fingers curling around Kieran's thumb. Kieran's eyes closed like he was in pain. River, please. I sank into the chair, exhaustion crashing over me. You can stay tonight, I said finally. But tomorrow we talk. And I decide what happens next. They nodded, 3 identical movements, 3 identical looks of desperate gratitude. Outside, the storm kept raging. Inside, everything I'd built alone was cracking wide open. And I had no idea if I was strong enough to keep them out this time. I didn't sleep. Not really. The hospital chair was designed for short visits, not for an Omega who hadn't closed his eyes in 3 days. Every time I drifted off, one of the triplets shifted, or Leo made a small sound, or the bond in my chest tugged like a hook behind my ribs, reminding me they were only feet away. Morning came gray and cold through the window. Leo's fever had broken sometime around 4 a.m. His skin was cooler, his breathing deeper. The nurse who checked his vitals smiled for the first time since we'd arrived. He's turning the corner, she whispered, like speaking too loud might jinx it. I nodded, throat raw. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. Kieran was already standing by the crib, one large hand resting lightly on Leo's blanket. He hadn't moved from that spot all night. Kai had taken the second chair, head tipped back against the wall, but his eyes snapped open the second I stirred. Knox had paced until dawn, then finally dropped into the windowsill, arms crossed, watching the parking lot like he expected enemies to pour in. None of us had spoken since my single condition. We talked today. The doctor arrived at 8 with discharge papers in hand. If he keeps fluids down and stays stable another 6 hours, you can take him home tonight, she said. I'm happy with his progress. The word stabbed me. My home was a 1-bedroom walk-up 2 hours away, with a leaky faucet and a neighbor who played saxophone at 3 a.m. Their home was a sprawling compound on pack land, guarded, luxurious, and completely out of reach for someone like me. I signed the forms anyway. The second the doctor left, Knox pushed off the sill. We need to talk now. Not here, I said quickly. Leo was dozing again, and I didn't want voices raised around him. There's a family lounge down the hall. Empty this early. They followed me without argument. That alone told me how serious this was, 3 dominant alphas trailing an Omega like ducklings. People stared in the corridor. I ignored them. The lounge had bad coffee and plastic chairs arranged in a circle, probably for grief counseling. We took 4 seats, forming a tense square. I sat opposite all 3, back straight, hands clasped so they wouldn't shake. Kieran spoke first. We messed up. We know that. Understatement, I muttered. Kai leaned forward, elbows on knees. We were 24. The pack elders were breathing down our necks about producing an heir with a strong bloodline, preferably from another alpha family. They'd lined up political matches. When you told us you were pregnant, he exhaled. We panicked. Thought if we claimed you publicly, the council would challenge our leadership before we were ready to fight them. Knox picked up without pause, like they'd rehearsed this. We told ourselves we were protecting you. That if we let you go, you'd be safer away from pack politics. We were cowards. I stared at them. You let me think you didn't want him. You let me raise him alone. Kieran's voice cracked. Every day since you left, we've regretted it. We tore the country apart looking for you at first. When we couldn't find you, we assumed the worst. It broke us, River. I laughed, a short, ugly sound. You think that makes it okay? No, Knox said flatly. Nothing makes it okay. But we're here now, and we're not leaving again. I looked at each of them, really looked. There were new lines around Kieran's eyes. Kai's hair was longer, tied back, like he hadn't cared enough to cut it. Knox had a fresh scar along his jaw that hadn't been there before. They looked older. Tired. Haunted. What do you want? I asked quietly. You, Kai said instantly. Both of you. Come home with us. My heart stuttered. Just like that. Just like that, Kieran confirmed. No more hiding. No more elders dictating terms. We've spent 2 years consolidating power. The council answers to us now, not the other way around. Knox added, we've already had papers drawn up. Full claiming ceremony the moment you say yes. Leo registered as our heir. You as our mate, equal in every way. I swallowed hard. The bond flared hot and bright at the words, urging me to say yes, to fall into them and let them fix everything. But I'd learned the hard way that bonds weren't enough. And if I say no? Silence. Kai's shoulders sagged. Kieran's jaw worked. Knox looked like I'd punched him. Then we stay close, Kieran said finally. We protect you both from a distance if that's what you need. But we won't disappear again. I stood abruptly. The room felt too small. I need time. Take all you need, Knox said. We'll wait. I left them there and went back to Leo. He was awake, sitting up in the crib with the help of pillows, clutching the stuffed wolf I'd bought him last month. When he saw me, he reached both arms up, making grabby hands. Mama, he babbled, his version of my name. I scooped him up, burying my face in his soft curls. He smelled like hospital soap and baby warmth. My everything. The triplets appeared in the doorway minutes later, watching us with identical expressions of longing so fierce it hurt. Kieran cleared his throat. We booked the hotel across the street. Top floor suite. Plenty of room if you decide to stay there tonight instead of driving back. I hadn't even thought that far. Driving 2 hours with a just-discharged toddler sounded exhausting. There's a kitchenette, Kai added softly. We can make whatever he'll eat. Soft foods, broth, anything. Leo twisted in my arms, spotting them. His little face lit up. He'd always been drawn to alphas, even strangers, but these 3, something in his blood recognized them. He reached one chubby hand toward Kieran. Kieran crossed the room in 2 strides and carefully took Leo's fingers in his much larger ones. Hey, little man, he whispered, voice thick. Leo giggled and tugged, wanting closer. Against every instinct screaming at me to pull away, I let Kieran lift him. Just for a moment. The second Leo was in his arms, Kieran's eyes closed, shoulders shaking once, like a dam breaking. Kai and Knox moved in, surrounding them, hands gentle on Leo's back, his hair. The 4 of them formed a unit I'd dreamed about in my weakest moments. I watched, throat burning, bond singing. We'll take the hotel, I said finally. My voice sounded distant, like someone else's. One night. That's all I'm promising. 3 heads snapped toward me, hope flaring bright. One night, Knox repeated, solemn, "Thank you." They didn't push for more. They gathered Leo's things, spoke quietly to the nurses about transferring care instructions, handled the billing I hadn't even glanced at. By late afternoon, we were in a massive suite overlooking the city. Leo, exhausted but cheerful, ate mashed bananas and fell asleep on a blanket nest in the living room. I stood at the window, arms wrapped around myself. Kai came up behind me, not touching, just close enough I felt his warmth. "We'll sleep on the couches," he murmured. "You and Leo take the bedroom." I nodded, too tired to argue. Kieran appeared on my other side. "Whatever you decide tomorrow or next week or next year, we'll respect it. But we're in this now, River. All the way." Knox joined us, completing the circle without crowding. "We love you," he said simply. "We never stopped. We were just too stupid to show it when it mattered." The bond pulled so hard I swayed. Tears blurred the city lights. I didn't answer. Not yet. But for the first time in 2 years, I let myself lean, just a fraction, into the space between them. Their mingled sense wrapped around me like a promise. One night I'd said, it already felt like the beginning of forever. I woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet. Pancakes, maybe. For a second I forgot where I was, forgot everything, until Leo's warm weight shifted against my chest and the low murmur of 3 familiar voices filtered through the bedroom door. They were already up. Of course they were. I lay there a moment longer, staring at the ceiling of the hotel bedroom. Sunlight striped across the duvet. Leo's tiny hand was fisted in my shirt. He'd slept through the night for the first time in days, curled against me like he knew he was safe. I didn't want to leave this bed. Out there, decisions waited. But Leo stirred again, making hungry noises, so I carried him into the living area. The sight stopped me in the doorway. Kieran stood at the stove in borrowed hotel sweats, flipping pancakes with intense concentration. Kai sat cross-legged on the floor, building a tower of soft blocks for Leo to knock over later. Knox was at the dining table, laptop open, but his eyes lifted the second I appeared. All 3 froze when they saw us. "Morning," Kai said softly, smile breaking wide. Leo spotted the blocks and squealed, reaching out. I set him down and he toddled straight to Kai, collapsing into his lap with total trust. Kai's arms closed around him carefully, like he was made of glass. Kieran turned off the burner and came over, wiping his hands on a towel. "How'd you both sleep?" "Better than I have in weeks," I admitted. My voice was rough. Knox closed the laptop. "We got everything he might need. Formula, diapers, pediatric electrolyte drinks. Pharmacy opened early." Of course they had. They'd probably bought out the entire baby aisle. I poured coffee with shaking hands while Kieran plated tiny pancake pieces cut into perfect bite-sized squares. We settled around the table, me in the middle, Leo in a makeshift high chair they'd fashioned from pillows and a regular seat. The triplets took positions around us like sentinels. Breakfast was quiet at first, just the sound of Leo smacking his lips happily. Then Knox spoke. "We need to talk about what comes next, River." "Practically." I tensed. "I know." Kieran leaned forward. "Your apartment lease, how much notice do you have to give?" I blinked. "How do you?" "We checked last night," Kai said, not apologetic. "Public records. It's month to month. You can leave any time." I set my fork down. "You're already planning my move." "We're planning options," Knox corrected. "No pressure. But Leo needs pack doctors now that he's presented symptoms of early shift fever." My blood went cold. "What?" Kai's expression softened. The infection triggered it. His temperature spiked higher than human normal because his wolf side was trying to burn it out. It's common in pups with strong alpha bloodlines. He'll be fine, but he needs monitoring only a pack healer can provide. I stared at Leo, who was happily gumming a pancake piece, oblivious. "You're sure?" "We called our pack physician at dawn," Kieran said. "Sent her the hospital records. She confirmed it." I pressed a hand to my mouth. All this time I'd been treating him like a human child, terrified of normal fevers, when his biology was already shifting. Knox's voice was gentle. He's going to start shifting early river. Maybe in the next year. He needs space to run. Needs the forest. The bond twisted hard inside me, agreeing with every word. I looked at them, at the careful hope in their eyes, at Leo reaching for Kieran's fingers with sticky hands. I'm scared, I whispered. Kai reached across the table, covering my free hand with his. We know. We're terrified too. We've never been fathers before. Kieran added, but we're not 24 anymore. We've spent 2 years preparing for this without even knowing it. The compound has a nursery ready. A whole wing, actually. We built it hoping. He trailed off. Knox finished gruffly, hoping you'd come home one day. Silence fell again, heavy with everything unsaid. Leo yawned, rubbing his eyes. Nap time. I stood. I need to think. Alone. They nodded without argument. I took Leo back to the bedroom, rocked him until he slept, then slipped out onto the balcony. The city sprawled below, but all I could see was the forest in my memory, endless pines, the pack compound nestled deep inside Silverfong territory. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from my neighbor back home. Asterisk, everything okay? Haven't seen you in days. Rent's due Friday. Asterisk. Reality crashing in. Another buzz. This one from an unknown number. Asterisk, this is Dr. Mara, Silverfong pack healer. I'd like to examine Leo at your earliest convenience. No obligation. Just want him healthy. Asterisk. They'd given her my number. I closed my eyes, breathing in cold air. When I went back inside 20 minutes later, the triplets were cleaning up breakfast, moving around each other with practiced ease. They stopped when they saw my face. I have conditions, I said. 3 sets of eyes locked on me. First, I keep my job if I want it. I'm not quitting nursing. Kieran nodded instantly. There's a clinic on Packland. You'd run it if you wanted. Second, separate rooms until I say otherwise. The bond is strong, but I need space to trust you again. Kai swallowed hard but said, done. Guest wing is yours alone. Third, I continued, voice steady now, Leo calls me mama. Boys. You're his dad's, but I'm his primary parent until he's old enough to understand everything. Knox's jaw worked. Agreed. Fourth, no marking until I'm ready. No claiming bite. Not until I choose it. The air thickened with restrained alpha instinct. I saw the struggle in their eyes, felt it through the bond like a storm held back by will alone. Kieran spoke for them. We swear it. On our blood. I exhaled slowly. Then we will come home. For a trial. 1 month. If it doesn't work, we leave. No chase this time. Hope flared so bright it nearly blinded me through the bond. Knox stood first. We'll leave within the hour. The jet's fueled. Of course they had a private jet. Packing took minutes. Leo didn't own much and I owned less. While I folded tiny clothes, Kai sat on the floor playing peekaboo. Kieran packed diapers with military precision. Knox handled checkout and tipped the staff enough to buy silence. By noon we were in the air, Leo asleep in a proper bassinet seat, me buckled between Kieran and Kai while Knox flew. Apparently he had a pilot's license now. I watched clouds race past the window and felt the last 2 years slipping away like a dream. Kieran's hand found mine, lacing our fingers. Thank you, he whispered. Don't thank me yet, I said. This could all fall apart. Kai leaned his head on my shoulder. Then we'll rebuild it. Every day if we have to. Below us, the city shrank to nothing. Ahead, forest waited, green and endless and terrifyingly full of possibility. Leo stirred in his sleep, making a small content sound. I closed my eyes and, for the first time in years, let myself hope. The jet touched down on the private airstrip just after sunset. I stepped out into air that smelled like pine and snow and home, even though I'd sworn I'd never come back. Leo was bundled against Kieran's chest in a carrier, tiny mittened hands clutching his father's shirt, eyes wide at the wall of dark trees ahead. A black SUV waited on the tarmac, engine running. Knox drove, Kai rode shotgun, and Kieran sat in the back with me and Leo. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes. The silence wasn't tense, it was reverent, like we were all afraid to break whatever fragile peace we'd found at 30,000 feet. Then the gates appeared, massive iron wrought with the silver fong crest, flanked by guards who snapped to attention the second they recognized the vehicle. They swung open without a word. We wound up a private road lit only by moonlight filtering through branches. My stomach knotted tighter with every mile. Memories flooded in. The summer festivals, the training fields, the clinic where I'd worked my first shifts. And the night I'd left, slipping past these same gates with nothing but a backpack and a broken heart. The compound came into view all at once. A sprawling modern lodge of timber and glass nestled against the mountains, warm light spilling from every window. Smaller cabins dotted the clearing for pack families, but the main house belonged to the Alphas. To them. Knox parked in the circular drive. Before I could reach for the door, it opened from outside. Two women stood there, Elder Mira, the pack's matriarch, and Dr. Mara, the healer who'd texted me. "Welcome home, River," Mira said softly. Her eyes, sharp as ever at 70, flicked to Leo and softened. "And welcome to our future Alpha." Leo, sensing the shift in energy, buried his face in Kieran's neck. I climbed out slowly. "Thank you for having us." Mira smiled. "This is your home too." "Always was." Dr. Mara stepped forward, bag in hand. "May I examine him now?" "Just a quick check. No needles, I promise." Kieran carefully transferred Leo to her waiting arms. The pup blinked up at the stranger, then yawned hugely. Mara's hands glowed faintly with healer magic as she ran them over his chest, his head, his limbs. "Strong little wolf," she murmured. "The fever's completely gone. His aura is bright, alpha dominant, like his father's. He'll shift before his 3rd birthday, I'd wager." She handed him back to me. Leo immediately reached for Kai this time, who took him with the same stunned reverence as the first time. Mira gestured toward the house. "Rooms are ready. Dinner too, if you're hungry." Inside was exactly as I remembered and completely different. The great hall soared 3 stories high, all exposed beams and a massive stone fireplace already crackling. But there were new touches everywhere, soft rugs in neutral tones, toys scattered discreetly in baskets, a swing hanging from one of the beams. They really had prepared for a child. A young Omega I didn't recognize hurried forward with a tray of hot cider. "Luna River," she said shyly, bowing her head. I froze. The title for the mate of ruling Alphas. "I'm not," I started. "You are," Knox said quietly behind me. "Whether the ceremonies happened or not. The pack knows." I took the cider just to have something to do with my hands. Mira led us upstairs. "We put you in the family wing. Your old room is still there if you want privacy, but we thought you'd prefer the suite adjacent to the nursery." The nursery stopped my heart. It was huge, painted soft gray with woodland murals on one wall, wolves running under a full moon, hand-painted by someone with real talent. A crib of dark wood dominated one corner, already made up with the same blanket Leo had in the hospital. Toys filled shelves. A rocking chair sat by the window overlooking the forest. And 3 doors led off it, one to our bedroom, one to a playroom, and one directly into the Alpha's master suite. Separate rooms, I'd said. They'd given me that, technically. Leo squealed at the sight of a stuffed bear bigger than he was. Kai set him down, and he toddled straight for it. I turned to Mira. "This is too much." "It's 2 years overdue," she replied simply. "Those boys have been unbearable without you." Downstairs again, dinner waited in the private dining room. Roast venison, root vegetables, fresh bread. Simple pack food, but it smelled like heaven. We ate with just the 5 of us. Mira and Mara had tactfully withdrawn. Leo sat in a proper high chair they must have bought yesterday, banging a spoon happily while the triplets took turns feeding him mashed carrots. Halfway through the meal, Kieran set his fork down. "There's something we need to tell you." My stomach dropped. "What?" Kai glanced at Knox, who nodded. "The reason we finally found you," Kieran said carefully. "It wasn't luck. Leo's fever, when it spiked so high, his infant aura flared. Like a beacon. Every alpha within 500 miles felt it. We knew instantly it was our blood calling." I stared. "You felt him?" Knox's voice was rough. Like a knife to the chest. We were in a council meeting in Seattle when it hit. Dropped everything, tracked the pull straight to that hospital. That's why we got there so fast, Kai added. We drove through the night. I looked at Leo, laughing as Kieran made airplane noises with a spoonful of food. My fierce, tiny boy had called his father's home without knowing it. After dinner, exhaustion crashed over me. Leo was already nodding off in Knox's arms. I'll put him down, Knox offered. We all migrated to the nursery. I changed Leo into pajamas while the triplets hovered, watching every movement like they were memorizing it. When I laid him in the crib, he sighed and curled up with his thumb in his mouth. The room had a baby monitor, of course it did, and soft nightlights shaped like stars. I lingered, brushing his curls back. 3 warm bodies pressed close behind me. We can leave you alone, Kieran whispered. But I didn't want that. Not tonight. Stay, I said. Just stay until he's fully asleep. So we stood there, the 4 of us surrounding the crib, breathing in unison. Their hands found mine, one on each side, one at my back. No demands. Just presence. When Leo's breathing finally evened out, I let them lead me next door to the bedroom they'd prepared for me. King bed, my favorite colors, deep blues and grays, bookshelves already half filled with nursing texts and baby books. My old stuffed rabbit from childhood sat on the dresser. They'd kept it. I turned to them in the doorway. How long have you been planning this? Since the week you left, Kai admitted. We started the nursery the day we stopped searching. Told ourselves if we built it, you'd come. Tears pricked my eyes. Knox cleared his throat. We'll be across the hall if you need anything. Anything at all. They started to back away. Wait, I said. They froze. I stepped forward, heart pounding. First Kieran, tallest, always the gentle one. I rose on my toes and pressed my lips to his, soft, brief, but deep enough that he shuddered. Then Kai, playful, quick smile even now. His kiss was warmer, lingering a second longer. Finally Knox, rough edges, but his mouth trembled against mine like he was holding back a lifetime. When I pulled away, all 3 stared at me like I'd handed them the moon. Good night, I whispered. I closed the door before I could change my mind and begged them to stay. Through the wall, I heard their low voices, relieved, awed, planning in murmurs how to earn tomorrow and every day after. I crawled into bed alone, but their mingled scents lingered on my skin from those brief kisses. For the first time since I'd run, I fell asleep without fear. Tomorrow the real work began, rebuilding trust, learning how to be a family. But tonight, in the heart of Silverfong territory, with my pup safe down the hall and his father's mere steps away, I let myself believe we might actually make it. The first week blurred into a rhythm I hadn't expected to fall into so easily. Mornings started with Leo's babbling over the baby monitor at dawn. One of the triplets, whichever lost the quiet rock-paper-scissors game they played in the hallway, would slip into the nursery to change and feed him so I could sleep longer. By the time I dragged myself out of bed, coffee was waiting on the nightstand and Leo was usually parked in someone's arms, happily gnawing on a teething ring while they read him the morning pack reports out loud like bedtime stories. I should have hated how seamlessly they inserted themselves into our lives. Instead, I found myself relaxing inch by inch, day by day. On the 8th morning, I woke alone. No coffee, no monitor chatter. Panic spiked sharp and immediate until I heard laughter drifting from downstairs, Leo's high-pitched squeal and 3 deeper voices answering him. I patted down in borrowed sweats, Kai's, too long in the legs, and found them in the sunlit kitchen. Knox was at the stove making scrambled eggs one-handed while Leo sat on the counter in front of him, helping by banging a plastic spatula against a bowl. Kieran was cutting fruit into tiny pieces, narrating each slice like a nature documentary. Kai had flour on his cheek and was attempting pancakes shaped like wolves, mostly failing, but Leo didn't care. The scene hit me so hard I had to grip the doorframe. Knox glanced over first. Morning, sleepyhead. Leo spotted me and lunged forward with grabby hands. Mama! Knox caught him before he toppled, passing him over without hesitation. I buried my face in Leo's neck, breathing him in, letting the warmth of the kitchen chase away the last of my fear. Kai slid a mug of coffee across the island toward me. We let you sleep in. Figured you needed it. I took the coffee, eyes stinging. You didn't have to. We wanted to, Kieran said simply. Breakfast was messy and loud and perfect. Leo ended up with egg in his hair and syrup on Knox's shirt. No one complained. Afterward, Dr. Mara arrived for Leo's weekly check. She pronounced him thriving and warned us his first shift might come as early as 18 months if his aura kept strengthening this fast. The triplets took the news with grim determination, already discussing safe shifting rooms and moon schedules. I took Leo outside while they talked logistics. The backyard opened straight into protected forest, acres of pine and meadow no human would ever stumble across. Snow still dusted the ground from last night's flurries, but the sun was warm enough that Leo could toddle around in his little boots and puffy coat. I sat on the porch steps and watched him chase falling leaves, heart so full it ached. Footsteps behind me. All three settled around me, Kieran on the step below, Kai leaning against the railing, Knox sitting close enough that his shoulder brushed mine. He's happy here, Kai said quietly. I nodded, unable to speak. Knox's voice was rough. Are you? I looked at the trees, at Leo stumbling toward a butterfly, at the three men who hadn't left my side for a week. I'm getting there, I admitted. Kieran reached over and laced his fingers with mine. No demand in it, just comfort. That afternoon, the pack threw an informal welcome. Not a ceremony, thank the gods, just a bonfire in the clearing with food and music and curious wolves coming to meet their future alpha and the Omega who'd brought him home. I was nervous. I'd left without saying goodbye to most of them. Some had probably blamed me for the triplets' darkness the past 2 years. But the second we stepped into the circle of firelight, cheers went up. Elder Mira hugged me so hard my feet left the ground. Pups swarmed Leo, offering him handmade toys. Older pack members pressed food into my hands and told stories of how the alphas had been impossible without me. A gray-haired beta I'd once treated for a broken leg pulled me aside. They stopped laughing after you left, he said gruffly. Whole pack felt it. Glad you're back, Luna. I didn't correct the title this time. Later, when the fire burned low and Leo was asleep against Kieran's chest, wrapped in a blanket, Kai pulled out a guitar I didn't know he played. He strummed softly, an old pack lullaby, while Knox and Kieran hummed harmony. Wolves all around us joined in, voices rising into the night. I sat between Knox and Kieran, Kai's music wrapping around us like another blanket. Leo's tiny hand rested on my thigh, Knox's arm brushed my back, Kieran's head tipped against my shoulder. The bond sang, quiet, steady, content. When the song ended, Knox spoke into the hush. River. I turned to him. His eyes were fierce in the firelight. We don't want the trial month to end. My breath caught. Kieran tightened his hold on Leo and me. Said, for good. Let us claim you. Let us be your mates, your family. No more waiting. Kai set the guitar aside and dropped to one knee in front of me, taking my free hand. We love you. We love Leo. We'll spend the rest of our lives proving we deserve you both. The pack had gone still around us, watching, but it felt like we were alone under the stars. Tears spilled over before I could stop them. You already are proving it, I whispered. Every day. Knox leaned in, forehead touching mine. Say yes. I looked at each of them, at the hope and fear and love shining raw on their faces. Yes, I said. The word came out steady, sure. This. I want to stay. I want this. Kai made a broken sound and pressed his face to my hand. Kieran's arms shook around Leo and me. Knox kissed my temple, once, twice, like he couldn't believe it. Around us, the pack erupted into howls of joy, long, triumphant cries that echoed through the forest. Leo stirred, blinked, then added his own tiny howl, making everyone laugh through tears. Later, back in the house, we put Leo to bed together. He fell asleep clutching 3 stuffed wolves, one from each father. In the hallway outside the nursery, they surrounded me. No rush, Kieran murmured against my hair. We'll wait as long as you need for the bite. But I didn't want to wait. I pulled Kieran down first, kissing him slow and deep, pouring 2 years of loneliness and forgiveness into it. He groaned softly, hands gentle on my waist. Then Kai, hungry, grateful, his mouth warm and familiar. I felt his tears against my cheek. Finally Nox, rough at first, then softening, reverent. His kiss tasted like promises kept. When we broke apart, breathless, I rested my head against Nox's chest. Kieran and Kai pressed close on either side. Tomorrow, I said. Under the full moon. I want the claiming tomorrow. 3 alphas trembled around me. We'll make it perfect, Kai vowed. Nox's voice rumbled through his chest into mine. You already are. We didn't part that night. They carried me to their bed, the one they'd slept in alone for 2 years, and held me between them until dawn, hands linked, hearts finally aligned. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and silent. Inside, our family was whole. One more night until the bond snapped fully into place. I couldn't wait. The full moon rose fat and silver over the forest, painting everything in cool light and deep shadow. I stood at the edge of the sacred clearing, barefoot in the snow, wearing nothing but a simple white linen robe the pack elders had laid out for me. My heart thundered so loudly I was sure every wolf in the circle could hear it. Hundreds of them ringed the space, Silverfang pack in their human forms, eyes glowing softly in the dark, silent and reverent. Torches burned at the 4 cardinal points. Elder Mira stood at the stone altar in the center, ancient book open in her hands. But I only saw 3 figures waiting for me. Kieran, Kai, and Nox stood side by side on the raised dais, shirtless despite the cold, wearing only loose black pants. Moonlight traced every line of muscle, every scar, every identical yet unique plane of their bodies. Their eyes, storm gray and forest green, were fixed on me with an intensity that made my knees weak. Leo was safe in the lodge with Dr. Mara and 2 trusted betas, fast asleep and oblivious to the fact that tonight his family would finally become unbreakable. I took the first step into the clearing. The pack parted for me without a word. Snow crunched softly under my feet, but I didn't feel the cold. The bond inside my chest burned hot, pulling me forward like a tide. When I reached the dais, the triplets dropped to one knee in perfect unison. The sight stole my breath, 3 powerful alphas bowing to me. Myra's voice rang out, clear and strong. River Ellis, Omega of Silverfang, bearer of our future alpha. Do you come here freely to bind yourself to Kieran, Kai, and Nox Silverfang? I do, I said. My voice didn't shake. And you, Kieran, Kai, Nox, alphas of Silverfang, do you accept River as your true mate, equal in all things, to love, protect, and cherish for all your days? We do, they answered together, the words vibrating through the bond like thunder. Mira smiled. Then rise and seal what the moon has already written. They stood. Kieran stepped forward first, taking my hands in his. River, he said, voice low but carrying to every ear, I promise to listen when I once stayed silent. To hold you when I once let you go. You are my heart. He leaned in and kissed me, slow, deep, reverent. His lips moved against mine like a vow, and I felt the bond flare bright. Kai came next, cupping my face with trembling hands. I promise to bring you laughter every day, to chase away any shadow that dares touch you. You are my light. His kiss was warmer, playful at the edges but fierce in the center, tasting of joy and forgiveness. Nox last. He didn't speak at first, just pressed his forehead to mine, breathing me in. Then rough and raw. I promise my strength, my loyalty, my everything. I will never fail you again. You are my home. His kiss was fire, possessive, desperate, tender all at once. I clung to him, tears slipping free. When we parted, Mira nodded. The bite. They moved as one. Kieran gently turned me so my back was to his chest, arms wrapping around me from behind. Kai stepped in front, hands sliding up my sides. Nox pressed close on my right, lips brushing my shoulder. 3 sets of fangs extended, sharp, gleaming. I tilted my head, baring my neck, my throat, my everything. They struck together. Pain flared white-hot for a heartbeat, then exploded into ecstasy as the bond snapped fully into place. I cried out, knees buckling, but they held me up. Pleasure and love and belonging poured through the new channels. Theirs into mine, mine into theirs, until I couldn't tell where I ended and they began. Images flashed, memories shared in an instant. Their grief when I left, their relentless search, the nursery built on hope, the moment they felt Leo's flair and knew. My loneliness in the human world, my joy at Leo's first smile, my fear in the hospital. All of it laid bare, understood, forgiven. The pack howled as one, a triumphant, joyous sound that shook snow from the trees. When the bond settled, glowing steady and golden inside us, they withdrew carefully. 3 perfect claiming marks now adorned my skin. One at the base of my neck, one just below my collarbone, one on the curve where neck met shoulder. Matching marks would appear on each of them by morning. I turned in their arms, robes slipping from my shoulders in the warmth of the bonfire. They caught it, wrapped it back around me, shielding me from the cold and from every watching eye. Mira closed the book. It is done. The moon has blessed this union. Go forth as one. The pack surged forward then, hugs, cheers, tears. But the triplets kept me in the center of their circle, hands linked, bodies protecting. Later, much later, we carried the celebration back to the lodge. Food and drink and music filled the great hall until dawn threatened. Leo woke at some point and was passed from arm to arm, blissfully unaware that he now had 3 fathers officially, eternally. When the sky began to pale, the 4 of us slipped away. In the master bedroom, fire crackling low, we finally came together fully. No words at first, just touches, kisses, the overwhelming rush of 4 souls braided tight. Emotions spilled over, relief, gratitude, fierce protectiveness, endless desire. Hands mapped old memories and new promises. Lips traced every mark, every scar, every inch of skin that was now theirs and mine. They surrounded me, held me, loved me until I was trembling and breathless and whole. Afterward, we lay tangled in sheets that smelled of all of us. Leo slept in his crib down the hall, monitor glowing softly. Moonlight still filtered through the windows, silver on our skin. Kieran's fingers traced lazy circles on my back. Happy, he whispered. I laughed, soft and incredulous. So happy I'm afraid I'll wake up. Kai nipped my ear. Not a dream. Will remind you every day. Knox pulled me closer, voice a low rumble against my spine. Forever starts now. I closed my eyes, surrounded by warmth, by heartbeats synced to mine, by the steady glow of a bond finally complete. I'd run once, carrying their pup and my shattered heart. They'd found us. And now they had us back, forever. No more running. Only home. Thank you for watching, everyone. I also want to hear your thoughts about this story, and as you do so, don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more amazing BL stories, and also Happy New Year to everyone. Much love from BL Hub.